A lot of people have complained about Rareware being bought out by Microsoft, but Rareware not producing any good games or anything remarkable ever since they were bought out by Microsoft from Nintendo. Back in the 90s and even the early 2000s, Rare was making a lot of quality games for Nintendo systems, particularly the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo 64. They were probably the best third-party support developer for Nintendo. They made some of the greatest games of all time for Nintendo, and they were behind the most iconic characters and the best platformers slash fighters slash first-person shooters for the Nintendo systems. Ever since they were bought out in the early 2000s by Microsoft, Rareware hasn't done anything. This UK-based company that was so beloved by everybody, all kinds of gamers, even non-Nintendo fans, really respected Rare because they were able to develop so many great games. And it seemed like for a time they had so many great ideas, from Conker's Bad Fur Day to the Killer Instincts to the Donkey Kong Countries to Jet Force Geminis. The list just goes on. All these classic games. My problem is that not only is it that they haven't done anything noteworthy. I mean, of course, they've released some games. They released Banjo-Kazooie, Nuts and Bolts. They've released, I believe they re-released Conker's Bad Fur Day for the Xbox 360. They made some other games. But just they were basically not impressive. You know, they made a Perfect Dark sequel. They had some other game called Cameo, and these were utter failures, critically panned by critics and fans alike, and nobody enjoyed it. Nobody liked the Rare games that came out in the past 6-7 years. Why did this happen? How could this happen? Why such a drastic change in quality, and why was it such a big fall for Rare? And we can attribute the fact that Rare fell off several reasons. I mean, I think that the reason number one being that they're not Nintendo anymore. Nintendo is really well known for being a kiddie slash... They had kid-friendly mascots, and these fun, very childish characters like Mario and Kirby and Zelda and Star Fox, and these kid-friendly, rated E for everyone, very safe characters, cartoonish. Microsoft, on the other hand, with the Xbox and the Xbox 360, was mostly known for being an alternative and being a first-person shooter, you know, gritty, very Americanized, westernized type of system. It didn't seem to fit, you know, Rareware's mascots and their characters with the Microsoft theme. I mean, having Diddy Kong, and you have the Jet Force Geminis, and these kind of ideas, it doesn't really seem to fit Microsoft's kind of marketing, you know, their style, their look, that cartoonish animals, talking animals, anthropomorphic animals and mascots. It just doesn't seem to fit the Xbox or the 360's style. Maybe Conker's Bad Fur Day with its humor and its very mature rated style, but and we have to also look at the fact that Rareware just doesn't seem to try anymore. It's like they lost all the good ideas. It's like Nintendo and Rareware was a perfect partnership. It was a perfect group of guys, group of developers that seem to mold, and their ideas seem to blend together, and they seem to complement each other. So it just made perfect sense. I think that whatever way that Nintendo handled Rareware and how they were able to communicate with each other as this is the kind of game we're looking for, we want a game that played like this or like this, and we want Donkey Kong Country to play like this. Yeah, it just seemed to... There was a chemistry there. Nintendo and Rareware went hand in hand. You had platformers like Mario Brothers and Mario World that directly influenced Donkey Kong Country, for example. You had games like Mario 64 directly influencing Banjo-Kazooie, which was another Rareware classic. Goldeneye 007 directly influencing Perfect Dark, and then both of these considered Nintendo 64 classic FPS. And I know that Rareware was behind Goldeneye. I'm not saying that Nintendo made Goldeneye. I'm saying that the success that Rareware had was there was always a tradition of being influenced by an older game. It seemed to me that Rareware didn't have that with the Microsoft influence. They didn't have a Mario World or a Mario 64. They didn't have the creativity of Nintendo to kind of borrow from and to directly influence and base their games off of. What was Rare gonna do? Make a first-person shooter? Were they gonna make a Halo clone? Like, let's say, a brand new sci-fi shooter that was, like, directly based off Halo? So, instead of making Perfect Dark, that was a sequel to Perfect Dark from the N64, they would have made Perfect Dark Zero as kind of like a Halo clone. Which, I mean, I'm not totally against it. I think it could have worked. But it seemed to me, there's so many different things that caused Rareware to be such a crappy developer and just not amazing anymore. They basically fell off to huge proportions. I can't even believe it. Maybe maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it's just because of the money. Maybe it's just because of the money. The money got to their heads. They were bought out for I don't know how many amount of dollars, but it's got to be a lot. I mean, you buy the best developer for Nintendo, third-party developer for Nintendo. You buy them off Nintendo, and then you acquire them. You acquire Rareware. And basically the properties and their IPs, like Killer Instinct and Conker's Bad Fur Day. And you don't do anything with it. To me, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to not capitalize on their mascots, on the stuff that made Rareware so famous. I don't know what it is. I really don't know. Maybe Rareware just sucked. Maybe they suffered some kind of management type of thing. Maybe some people left. Maybe people got rich, or they just quit. I don't know the story behind it. I haven't looked it up. I don't care to read. I just don't care. But I think it's such a shame that Rareware fell off so bad. How could this be the case? How can they fall off so bad from the glory days of the Super Nintendo and N64? I really don't know. I just don't understand it. I don't know, you guys. I'm sorry, but I can't. I can't even think about it. It's such a weird thing for Nintendo to basically lose Rare, and then Rare going to Microsoft and basically being acquired by Microsoft, and then them not producing anything worthwhile, anything amazing. Rare sucks now, and it's a shame. I think it's a shame.